One of the world's richest cities has, for far too long, relied on one of the poorest excuses for an airport. John F. Kennedy International, JFK, was once a proud symbol of arrival, a shining testament to American ambition. But over the past 2 decades, it has topped worst of lists, plagued by chronic delays, lost baggage, and leaking ceilings that turned travel into torment. What was meant to welcome the world instead became an embarrassment. Now, New York is betting $19 billion to change that story. If the gamble succeeds, JFK could handle 20 million more passengers a year, spark economic revival, and reclaim its title as the world's premier aviation hub. But if it fails, it may become the most expensive cautionary tale in airport history. So what went wrong, and can New York really fix it? JFK wasn't always a source of frustration. When it opened in 1948 as Idlewild, it was built on a quiet stretch of Queens marshland, a serene promise of the jet age to come. By the 1960s, it had transformed into a glamorous showcase of innovation. The Pan Am Worldport and T2A's iconic flight center, designed by Eero Saarinen, embodied the future of flight: sweeping curves, bold architecture, and the sense that flying was an event, not a chore. Passengers dressed to impress, air travel was the height of modern sophistication. But time and policy changed everything. The decline began in the late 1970s with airline deregulation. Competition intensified, costs were slashed, and infrastructure began to crumble under the strain. The 1981 air traffic controllers strike crippled operations nationwide, forcing airports to adapt without the resources to do so. After 9/11s, new security layers added congestion and confusion, while the 2008 recession further delayed much-needed upgrades. Through it all, the Port Authority treated maintenance like an optional luxury, postponed, underfunded, and forgotten. The result was an airport held together by patches and improvisation. Terminals 1, 2, and 3 were a disjointed maze, stitched together by decades of short-term fixes. Navigating from one to another felt like crossing borders. Signage was unclear, pathways twisted, and ceiling tiles bore the stains of neglect. Jet bridges froze in winter, passengers were stranded. The runways, designed for smaller propeller aircraft, struggled to accommodate modern jets. Delays became routine, and by 2019, JFK ranked among the worst global hubs for on-time performance. Even local comedians joked that the fastest way through immigration was to fly to Newark instead. The airport that once represented America's future had become trapped in its own past. In 2017, Governor Andrew Cuomo stood in the outdated Terminal 2 and made a promise, not just to upgrade, but to reinvent JFK entirely. His proposal was ambitious, a full-scale rebuild from the ground up, transforming the airport into a unified, world-class gateway. But unlike past public projects, this one would rely primarily on private investment. Of the $19 billion total cost, only $3.9 billion would come from the Port Authority. The rest, over $15 billion, would be financed by airlines, global investors, pension funds, and infrastructure groups. Why would private firms pour billions into an airport? Because in exchange, they gain the right to operate and profit from the terminals for up to 40 years. Every cup of coffee, perfume sale, and parking fee will funnel back to them. It's a long-term bet on New York's enduring pull and the global demand for air travel. For passengers, the benefits could be transformative. The new JFK promises a seamless, unified experience, no more jumping between mismatched terminals. Twice as many flexible gates will cut delays, while biometric check-ins aim to eliminate long queues. Rebuilt roadway loops are designed to finally separate pickup and drop-off traffic, a daily headache for millions. If realized, the airport could become not just efficient, but enjoyable. The economic stakes are massive. Construction is already generating more than 40,000 jobs, with 10,000 permanent positions expected once complete. The project could inject $33 billion into the regional economy, reinforcing New York's position as a global hub for trade and tourism. But this moonshot carries risk. Should passenger volumes falter, whether from another pandemic, economic downturn, or the rise of virtual work, the private partners are protected by contracts guaranteeing minimum returns. The Port Authority, and by extension the public, could be left covering losses. JFK's rebirth, then, is as much a financial gamble as an engineering one. At the heart of JFK's rebirth stands the new Terminal 1, the centerpiece of this transformation and a bold declaration that the old era is over. Designed from scratch, it will span 2.4 million square feet, roughly 34 football fields, across the footprint of the former Terminals 1, 2, and 3. Inside, it will house 23 gates, 6 premium lounges, and 300,000 square feet of dining, retail, and hospitality. Every detail is engineered to erase memories of the crumbling past. The architecture itself is a statement. The ceiling soars 55 feet high, tall enough to fit the Statue of Liberty's torch, and sunlight pours through massive skylights onto gleaming steel beams shaped like wings. The space feels open, bright, and unmistakably modern, an aesthetic of optimism replacing decades of gloom. Beneath this airy structure, travelers will find world-class dining curated by top airlines such as Air France-KLM, Korean Air, and Turkish Airlines, each competing to elevate the passenger experience with gourmet food, cocktails, and luxury lounges. The goal is simple: make travelers feel like guests, not cattle. But the new terminal's ambitions go beyond comfort. Sustainability is woven into its foundation. Solar panels covering the roof will generate up to 40% of the terminal's electricity, enough to power 2,000 local homes. Rainwater will be harvested and reused to flush toilets, saving 1 million gallons a year. These features mark a decisive shift toward responsible, environmentally conscious design, proof that modernization doesn't have to come at the planet's expense. Security, long a pain point at JFK, will also get a futuristic overhaul. A single, expansive hall will house 16 biometric lanes where advanced facial recognition promises to move passengers from curb to lounge in as little as 10 minutes. For anyone who's endured the hour-long lines of old JFK, that sounds miraculous. Even if the system delivers half that speed, it would redefine what air travel through New York feels like. Phase 1 of Terminal 1 is set to open in 2026, with full completion expected by 2030. Its $9.5 billion price tag, half of JFK's total redevelopment budget, is backed primarily by international investors and airline partners, including a major Japanese infrastructure fund betting heavily on the future of American aviation. When finished, it will stand not just as a terminal, but as a monument to reinvention, proof that even a fallen icon can rise again with vision, capital, and courage. New Terminal 1 may be the crown jewel of JFK's transformation, but Terminal 6 stands as its equally ambitious counterpart, a 1.2 million square foot, $4.2 billion project rising on the historic site of the old Sundrum, once home to Pan Am's Worldport. This expansion represents JetBlue's boldest move yet, a strategic effort to double its JFK presence and court global partners, solidifying its position as a serious player on the international stage. The first gates are expected to open in 2026, with full completion by 2028, marking a pivotal chapter in the airport's reinvention. Terminal 6's design embraces a digital-first philosophy. From seamless biometric check-ins to lightning-fast self-bag drops that process luggage in under 15 seconds, the entire passenger journey is reimagined through technology. Every seat will feature powerful 100-amp USB-C charging ports, acknowledging the modern traveler's dependency on devices. Yet beyond the technology lies one of the terminal's most distinctive features, a 32,000-square-foot rooftop park. With real grass, lush greenery, and open-air views of aircraft taking off over Jamaica Bay, it transforms the pre-flight wait into a refreshing outdoor experience. This unique space captures the project's ethos, bringing calm, comfort, and innovation into an environment once defined by stress. The expansion ripples beyond Terminal 6. To the east, the aging Terminal 7, once a cornerstone of JFK's history, is being phased out. British Airways, its longtime tenant, is relocating to the expanded Terminal 8, where a $1.4 billion upgrade introduced 5 new wide-body gates and an architectural masterpiece, a whiskey barrel ceiling evoking the grandeur of Grand Central Terminal. Similarly, Terminal 4, already Delta's main hub, underwent a $1.5 billion transformation in 2022, adding 12 new gates, a bright arrivals hall, and an 11,000-panel light installation that pulses dynamically in sync with real flight data. By 2030, these upgrades will unify JFK's fragmented layout of 6 disconnected terminals into 4 integrated neighborhoods. Passengers will be able to transfer between gates behind security, moving smoothly across terminals without the current maze of rescreenings and long walks. This shift marks a complete reimagining of how travelers experience the airport, blending efficiency with architectural elegance. Of course, no amount of architectural brilliance will matter if travelers remain trapped in Van Wyck Expressway gridlock. Recognizing this, the Port Authority is investing heavily to fix one of New York's most notorious bottlenecks. A massive reconstruction project is redesigning 2 miles of the Van Wyck, adding new ramps that separate airport-bound traffic from local commuters. The goal isn't just expansion, it's intelligent flow management. Alongside it, 20 new bridges are being built to eliminate the jarring, pothole-riddled experience that has long defined the airport approach. Inside JFK, the chaotic central terminal area is also being completely restructured. What was once a confusing maze of lanes and horns will become an intuitive figure-8 roadway, effectively doubling curb space for pickups and drop-offs. Real-time digital signage will guide drivers to the correct lane, streamlining movement and reducing last-minute swerves. For pedestrians, newly installed safety moats will replace the perilous dash across lanes of traffic, ensuring that passengers can reach terminals safely and calmly. The focus is on simplicity, safety, and intuitive design, making the journey to the gate as smooth as the flight itself. Perhaps the most transformative element of JFK's ground transport overhaul is the upcoming $1.5 billion People Mover. This modern tram system will connect all terminals to a centralized rental car center, ending the patchwork shuttle chaos that frustrates travelers today. Sleek, air-conditioned, and fully automated, the new system will also integrate with a future AirTrain extension linking directly to the New York City subway and the Long Island Railroad at Grand Central Madison. Once complete, the unpredictable 90-minute commute from Midtown Manhattan could shrink to a consistent, comfortable 45 minutes. If the project delivers as envisioned, it could rival the efficiency of systems like London's Heathrow Express, offering a reliable, trackable ride that transforms JFK's accessibility. For the first time, getting to the airport may become as effortless as flying from it. Behind every grand terminal and roadway lies an equally intricate financial framework. The JFK expansion represents one of America's most ambitious experiments in public-private partnerships, PPPs, a model long popular in Europe and Asia but rare in U.S. aviation. The Port Authority's approach is straightforward. They contribute the land, the zoning power, and $3.9 billion for essential upgrades such as runways, roads, and utilities. Private consortia, in turn, take responsibility for designing, building, financing, and maintaining the terminals. Once the terminals are operational, private investors draw revenue from multiple streams: airline gate fees, retail commissions, advertising, and passenger facility charges, PFCs, a federally capped $4.50 fee added to each passenger's ticket. Over the course of a 30 to 40-year concession, these streams allow investors to recoup their costs before ownership returns to the Port Authority. What sets this model apart is how it redistributes risk. Traditionally, cost overruns on public projects fall on taxpayers. Under this structure, the burden lies with private developers, incentivizing efficiency and accountability. Passenger traffic fluctuations like those seen during the pandemic are shared risks balanced through contractual safeguards. This fair division of responsibility has attracted major global players: JP Morgan Chase, Munich Airport International, and Korea's Samsung C&T, among others. Their involvement signals strong confidence in the long-term growth of U.S. air travel, even as travelers gripe about cramped seats and long lines. Still, skepticism remains. Critics recall projects like Berlin-Brandenburg and Denver International, both plagued by years of delays and staggering cost overruns. Yet, the Port Authority appears determined to learn from those cautionary tales. They've introduced strict liquidated damage clauses that financially penalize contractors for every week past the 2030 completion date. If these clauses hold firm and enforcement remains consistent, JFK could become a model for how major infrastructure projects in America should be financed and managed. However, failure could just as easily cement JFK's story as another high-profile cautionary example, a reminder that ambition without discipline can collapse under its own weight. The stakes are monumental. Success could redefine U.S. airport development for generations, while failure could reaffirm every doubt about large-scale public-private ventures. The JFK rebuild isn't just construction, it's a breathtaking act of coordination on an unprecedented scale. Every day, over 1,300 flights continue to land and take off as crews work around them. Building new terminals and tunnels beneath active taxiways means operating within inches of roaring jet engines, where one wrong move could halt the airport. Steel lifts and terminal closures happen overnight in brief windows of calm, only to reopen by dawn as passengers flood back in. Even during peak holidays, TSA checkpoints must stay functional while cranes swing and jackhammers thunder just beyond temporary walls. It's a logistical ballet of timing, precision, and resilience. But not even the best choreography can prevent global disruptions. Supply chain breakdowns that began with the pandemic continue to haunt the project. Prefabricated steel trusses, vital for terminal structures, were delayed for months as shipping detours around Africa extended delivery times. These delays ripple through budgets and schedules alike. Meanwhile, the region faces a deepening labor crunch, with demand for electricians alone expected to rise by 10,000 by 2027. Recruiting and training the needed workforce poses another formidable challenge. Yet beyond logistics, steel, and schedules lies the true uncertainty: people. Will passengers truly care about a 55-foot ceiling or sleeker glass walls? Are they willing to pay a few dollars more per ticket for an upgraded experience? Business travelers, often driven by efficiency, may not abandon Atlanta's seamless hub for JFK's renewed promise unless the improvement is tangible. Experts note that success won't be measured in concrete port or terminals built, but in perception, how travelers feel. A rise in public sentiment, reflected in ratings or reviews, could mark victory as much as any construction milestone. If JFK earns that emotional loyalty, airlines will clamor for space, fares will stabilize, and investors will see returns. But if passengers still face long lines, sluggish systems, or everyday frustrations, even a gleaming new terminal could fall flat. Billions of dollars and New York's aviation reputation hinge on that fragile human factor. JFK's challenge extends far beyond U.S. borders. To reclaim its place as a global hub, it must compete not only with domestic powerhouses like Atlanta, Chicago, and Dallas, but also with the futuristic giants of the Middle East and Asia, airports that have redefined the modern travel experience. Atlanta remains the operational benchmark, moving over 100 million passengers a year with unmatched efficiency. Dubai dazzles with spectacle, boasting indoor waterfalls, robotic baggage systems, and luxury shopping fit for royalty. Singapore's Changi Airport has turned itself into a tourist attraction, featuring butterfly gardens, immersive cinemas, and art installations that transform travel into leisure. JFK's strategy, however, is distinct. It isn't trying to mimic extravagance, but to leverage what New York already offers: a vast home base of 40 million residents within 2 hours reach and an unparalleled flow of origin-destination traffic. By pairing that strength with newly designed, hyper-efficient terminals, the airport hopes to create a system where international carriers can turn wide-body jets with the same agility as rideshare drivers turning over passengers. If the runway rebuild and people mover projects finish on time, JFK could leap from its current 13th global ranking into the top 5 by 2032, a remarkable resurgence for an airport once seen as chaotic and outdated. But one serious delay or missed milestone could jeopardize the climb, leaving New York grounded while global competitors soar ahead. The stakes could not be higher, and the margin for error could not be smaller. For the people of Queens, JFK's rebirth is more than an airport upgrade. It's daily life transformed. Residents living near the perimeter feel every vibration as heavy machinery reshapes the skyline. Noise curfews now begin at 11 p.m., offering slightly earlier relief from the nightly roar. The project is both a source of pride and disruption, visible in the trembling of windows and the hum of progress. Still, tangible benefits ripple through the borough. Minority and women-owned businesses have captured 30% of subcontracting dollars, the highest share ever recorded by the Port Authority, a milestone in equitable opportunity. In parallel, community groups negotiated a $50 million fund to support local parks, green spaces, and STEM education programs, nurturing future engineers and innovators from within the same neighborhoods that border the runways. When complete, JFK will welcome roughly 15 million additional visitors annually. That influx will bring revived energy to nearby restaurants, hotels, and small businesses still recovering from the pandemic. Environmental advocates, long wary of airport expansion, secured a key victory. Every acre of land cleared for construction must be offset by restored wetlands in Jamaica Bay. The policy makes JFK an unlikely ally in urban ecology, sponsoring new habitats even as jets continue to rise overhead. This monumental project captures the essence of modern New York, a struggle to balance progress with preservation, prosperity with sustainability. The success of JFK's transformation will not only define the future of global air travel, but also shape the identity of Queens itself, a community suspended between noise and opportunity, turbulence and triumph. Mark these dates because they signal the transformation of JFK Airport into something truly new. 2026 marks the first major leap forward. The initial 8 gates of the new Terminal 1 open, offering travelers a glimpse of the airport's future. Terminal 6 begins partial operations while the Van Wyck lanes are realigned in hopes of easing congestion. By 2027, the long-standing Terminal 2 will finally be demolished, clearing space for progress. Construction of the new People Mover Guideway will be complete, setting the stage for seamless on-airport transport. Meanwhile, the central terminal area roads will shift to their final figure-8 layout, aiming to end years of gridlock. In 2028, Terminal 6 becomes fully operational. Whether your interest lies in the sleek new terminals, the shorter commutes, or the technological advancements, one of these years marks a personal milestone in this grand transformation. JFK's $19 billion rebirth is more than an infrastructure overhaul. It's New York's grand statement of intent. It's a wager that first impressions still matter deeply, and that the world's gateway to America's most ambitious city should reflect its energy and pride. It's also a belief that public renewal and private innovation can coexist, balancing profit with the public good. If the construction schedules hold, the finances align, and technology delivers, JFK, once seen as a symbol of decline, could become the nation's most efficient and welcoming airport. For those who've endured frantic sprints through its old corridors, that future feels not only appealing but necessary. A modest facility charge seems a fair trade for reliability and sanity. Next time you land at JFK, look beyond the cranes and construction dust. Beneath it all lies a city betting its reputation on the idea that the impossible is simply expensive, and that sometimes expensive actually works. After all, this is New York. What else would you expect? So, what's your take? Will JFK's $19 billion gamble redefine global air travel, or become another cautionary tale of ambition gone too far? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy deep dives into the world's biggest projects, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that move the world.